doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until
I
it
am
cracks
Oblivion.
apart. Time doesn't exist until
I am Oblivion.
you were pretty at night. Time doesn't exist until
I am Oblivion.
you were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first.
I am Oblivion.
You were pretty at night. Slew the white-haired one first.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of It's Time to Rewind, the podcast trapped in its own time loop right along with the movies we discuss. This season is the Serial Bombio, and we're looking at Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel. And we have finished up Angel's time loop episode, and we are moving on to some additional Angel episodes. And I went all the way back to the beginning with the pilot episode of Angel. Called I think City of ... And joining me today is host of Whatever with Jason Soto. It's Jason Soto himself. How are you doing today?
Hey, Bubbawheat, what's up? How are you? I'm fantastic.
I'm doing pretty good. And I know we were just talking about this right before we started recording, but one reason why I brought you back into this season is because I realized that you've been the only guest that I've had on all 4 seasons of It's Time to Rewind so far.
Yeah, you don't want to break that cycle. By all means, it's a time loop thing, right? I gotta be your constant. That's what you need in the time loop, right? Is a constant.
Yeah,
so might as well be
you gotta have your marker.
Exactly.
Time loop marker.
Exactly. Might as well be me.
Yeah, and I figured because you hadn't seen anything like a single episode of Buffy or Angel. So I figured I would bring you in right at the beginning, and I wasn't getting as many people excited about Angel as I was for Buffy, because a lot of people that are fans of Buffy and Angel, like Buffy is the A+ series, and Angel is like the redheaded stepchild.
Yeah, I kind of can see that, actually. I think I'm on their side, but I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a mix of things. Like, whenever you ask people who have seen both series to compare and contrast them, Buffy is like the coming of age series, because it starts out in high school, even though only the first 3 seasons are actually in high school. And then the next season is college, and then the next 2 are like, more adult Buffy. But Angel is always kind of considered like the more mature of the 2 shows, because Angel is like 250 years old, and you have Doyle, who's another adult, and Cordelia, who has graduated high school. But whenever she comes in, she looks and acts like she's in her early to mid 20s.
Yes, I did notice that myself, honestly.
Yeah, she like, if I'd have asked you, I know I spoiled it, but if I'd have asked you how old you thought Cordelia Chase as a character was, what would you say?
In this show, I would have said, like 20, like between 21 and 25, 6, maybe at the most 25.
Yeah, I didn't double check this, but I believe Charisma Carpenter as an actress was about 25, 26. But Cordelia Chase as a character was supposed to be 18. Like, she had just graduated high school in Buffy season 3, and this is taking place the same time as Buffy season 4.
Oh, really? Okay. So for the listeners, Bubba said I've not seen one episode of Buffy or Angel. But over on my podcasting network, I got a show called Word of Hellmouth, where Heather Baxnell Walsh and Mark Armstead, they're going through all of Buffy episode by episode, and I edit that show. So my only exposure to Buffy has just been listening to them editing the show. So
and they're only like 4 episodes in, 5 episodes.
Yeah, we're only on like episode 5 is going to come out. Okay, I'll put it this way. It comes out in January 15th. Now, whenever this episode comes out, that may already be out. I don't know, but go check that out. But anyway, I do know who Cordelia is. And I do know who Angel is now. I didn't then. I was vaguely aware of the show when it was happening. I vaguely remember seeing ads for a show called Angel. I didn't know how the two were connected. I just knew that Josh Whedon had something to do with both of them. And that was all I knew up until starting editing the show. So it was kind of fun to see Cordelia in person, in action, if you will.
Yeah, and she is kind of a fairly similar character in the start of Angel. Like she is kind of that bubbly, girly personality. But in the beginning of Buffy, she is a much more of like mean girl, almost a bully. And by this time she's really grown, and she was also like a rich girl. And in the previous season, you will find out towards the end of the season about the whole tax evasion thing.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure that they have like just one quick line about in here where she talks about how her dad didn't pay taxes for the past 12 years.
Okay.
I think she mentions that like whenever she's talking to Russell, the executive.
I think
whenever
I remember,
she's like,
I think I remember her saying that. I was distracted by several other things happening in that episode, in this episode, that I don't think I paid attention to what was being said. But
so let me ask you, I guess, just in general, like what did you think about the episode in general? Like, what are your kind of surface level thoughts on this?
I definitely can see why back in I'm looking at the Wikipedia now. So 99, this episode came out. I can see this in 99 hitting with people. I have to assume you had to have been a fan of Buffy to kind of enjoy this. I not that I was completely lost, mind you, but it felt like Angel was such an established character that they quickly glazed over things.
Yeah, like literally they have basically Doyle, whenever he comes in and talks to Angel, he has the like 2-minute recap of
he did
the first 3 seasons of Buffy.
He did
along with the clips, and I'm pretty sure like all the clips are like the same ones that they use in the opening credits of Buffy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this guy just shows up and he just tells Angel his life story, and I'm like, well, okay, I guess this is helpful for me, but to anyone who's seen the show, this is just like boring as hell, I imagine. But I have some issues with it. It's really weird. It's a weird show. It was weird for me. I'll point out why when we get more into it, but it was weird.
Yeah, I also noticed, like, me watching it because I had just finished season 5 and coming back to this pilot, the look of it felt very, very piloty.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
For lack of a better word, because I don't know what it was, but just the quality.
It felt like we are introducing a new world. This is new for this character. Here's this character that was on another show. This is clearly a spin-off show. They made that very clear. This is a spin-off. But we're in a new world. They're setting everything up. Even the ending, the final scene is them like organizing their little office thing. Like, yep, this is totally a first episode of something, like they did not hide the fact that this was a spin-off and B, the first episode. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it really felt like that, but also like the quality, like just the video quality felt off to me. Like it's one of those, like, if you watch the first season of the reboot of like Doctor Who, it was the Twilight Zone. Yeah, going all the way back to the Twilight Zone, there was like 2 episodes that were shot on videotape instead of film, and you could immediately tell the difference in video quality between the ones that were shot on tape versus the ones that were shot on film. And I got a little bit of that here, because the quality just felt a little bit off. It didn't feel as bright and crisp as like season 3 of Buffy, which I would have thought would have had, a similar budget.
Yeah. Okay. Now that you mentioned all that, yeah, it did look. It did itself look weird. Um, I think I just wrote it off as it being a show from 1999. I'm watching this on a high definition television on a streaming platform that's, showing everything in high def, but we're showing an episode that was made in the 90s. So sometimes that stuff doesn't transfer over very well. So I just kind of was just like, it's a product of its time stuff. That's probably just how stuff looked back in 1999. So I didn't think anything of it at the moment when I was watching it.
Yeah, I thought the scene transitions, that was something that was very 1999.
That
like,
was, yes.
the flash, the like, choo, 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 choo.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's totally a 90s trope.
It's like, I remember they did that a lot in Millennium too.
Yeah, they did. I remember that show, and they did 100%.
So let me ask you one other thing, because I know we're about the same age. Did you ever watch Roseanne?
Yes.
So you remember Becky's boyfriend, Mark?
Yes.
Did you recognize Doyle as Mark?
That, you know what? I did not make the connection. I did not make but now that you said that, that is it. Because I was like, I've seen this guy somewhere, but he's speaking in an Irish accent. So I'm like, okay, I don't know where I know this guy from.
Yeah, that's
it.
The actor's name is Glenn Quinn.
Yeah.
And most people would recognize him from Roseanne.
I did not make the connection until right now, but now that you said that, there's the puzzle piece I was missing. Okay.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is that's actually his native accent. Like he's
Irish for real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So this is his natural accent, and that was something that popped up where Joss Whedon told him to try it out with his natural accent, and he liked it, and I think it works for this character. I like Doyle as a character. I think it makes sense to make him Irish, even though I did think that it was very ham-handed the way that they revealed that he was a demon.
Yeah.
He sneezed.
Oh, he sneezed. Yeah. Oh, that's the thing too. So knowing nothing about this, I didn't know what the hell he was like. I didn't get what happened there. I got okay, so Angel's a vampire. The first scene, he's fighting other vampires. They can just turn into weird looking monster things. Okay, I guess that's the lore through the whole show. But then they showed this Doyle guy sneeze and he changed into a thing, but I didn't get what he was supposed to be. And it was never explained unless I missed a line of dialogue or something.
He says that at one point that he's half demon on his mother's side.
Oh, okay. I remember that joke. I didn't pick that up for some reason. Okay. I don't know why I didn't pick that up. All right.
Yeah, because even though it's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I think vampires only make up about 60% of what she fights, and then the other 40 are just various demons.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, in an episode that I just edited, they were fighting a giant mantis lady.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah, and I think in the first season, there's 13 episodes, and I think only 5 of them are actually vampire centric.
Oh, okay.
So that's less than half.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
What did you think of the whole visions and the powers that be? Because that is something that's basically brand new to this show. They don't really get religious in general besides the whole vampires and demons, but this is really the first sign of the good half of the demons, or angels, or that basically the other side in the war of good versus evil.
Got it. I mean, I grew up, in the 90s. I grew up watching a lot of stuff in the 90s, like TV shows and movies and stuff, where sometimes the writer would be like, okay, we need to explain why this is happening, but we might not have the enough time to fully get into it. So we'll do a quick thing. Probably the best example I can point to this is Groundhog Day. We don't know why he's going through the time loop. They never explained it. It was just like, it's happening. And so that's kind of how I took this. I just took like, okay, there's this guy, he gets visions, he gets migraines when he gets these visions, and he's going to tell Angel this person needs help with something. And I didn't think anything about the powers that be. I just thought it was like, you know, some like cabal of vampires who are in control of the planet or some secretly. I know nothing about the lore behind any of this. So when I hear the powers that be, I'm thinking, oh, there was an episode of Buffy where she finds out, oh, there's these like secret Illuminati of vampires that's just like controlling the world. And now here on Angel, they're telling him what to do or something. So I didn't really make anything of it. I'm just like, oh, so that's just how he's going to get his missions. And I'm guessing this is a type of show where like each episode he gets like a mission of sorts and he has to go do a thing. And I'm guessing he gets it from Doyle. I'm guessing that's the setup.
Yeah, that's basically how it goes for pretty much all of the first season. And then in the second season, Doyle leaves and his powers get passed to Cordelia. So she becomes the conduit and the one that gets the visions.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting take. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Cordelia was just a human, right? Like, and not even like a vampire slayer. She was just there.
Yeah, she was just a high school student.
The way I'm understanding it from listening to Heather and Mark talk about it, just sounded like she was just there. Okay.
Yeah, really the only like in the group of main characters from the beginning of Buffy, really Willow is the only one that she eventually becomes a witch.
Oh, okay.
So what did you think about the basically the first case, I guess, because this like did this feel like pretty much like a procedural, like almost like a CSI or a Law and Order, just with vampires?
This felt like a private eye show where Angel's a private eye and each episode is him on a mystery case trying to help a person. And that's exactly how this felt.
Basically exactly what it ends up, because Cordelia becomes the the secretary, and she comes up with a business card and the name for it. It's the Angel Investigations.
So that was my vibe, when I guess towards the end, that this just felt like, okay, so it was like Joss Whedon was like, I want to make a detective show, but I want to keep Angel. I want to keep the Angel property. So let's make him a detective. It's kind of like, this is very obscure, so I'm sorry, but they did that with Baywatch. They made a Baywatch spin-off.
Baywatch Nights.
where David Hasselhoff's character was a detective all of a sudden. It's that. He just did that.
I never watched that. I mean, I never watched Baywatch either, but I was aware of Baywatch Nights.
Yeah, so it was just that. It was just what Joss Whedon did. He just like, we're gonna make this a detective show. Why not?
I'm more of Son of the Beach kind of guy.
Oh my God, Son of the Beach. Dude, we are just pulling out the references left and right.
And let me ask you, were you surprised whenever the waitress Nina, whenever she dies like halfway in the episode?
Yeah. No, I thought she was gonna be like not a main character, but like I thought she was gonna be there the entire time, and then she gets freaking killed. I'm like, what the hell? And then I thought, well, maybe she gets turned to a vampire. Nope. She's dead. We killed her.
Yeah, there's not even that half of it, because that happens pretty much with anybody that dies in Buffy by a vampire comes back as a vampire. But yeah, that is kind of surprising. It's almost like it's him subverting expectations with this, because he basically fails his first case.
Yeah, and that was the thing too. Like they made this whole big deal in the first 10 minutes of like, oh, I need to help people. I'm helping humans now, and I'm hunting vampires myself. Because we see that in the opening. He kills these 3 random vampires who were going after these 2 women. By the way, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't one of those vampires in the beginning the guy who played Sawyer in Lost? He looked exactly like a 90, like a late. I meant to look that up.
I'm
I'll
not
look it
sure. He
up.
looked familiar.
I'll look it up. But
Yes. Yeah, it was Josh Holloway.
okay.
He was one of the vampires.
I thought so. Like this dude looks as much like Sawyer. So his whole thing is like, I want to save the humans now because as we learn through Mr. Expedition guy who shows up 5 minutes into the show, he feels bad about all the people he ate, I guess, and he wants to save people. So he gets his case dropped onto his lap, and then he fails it, and freaking she ends up dead. It's like, oh, okay, good job, Angel. Wonderful.
Yeah, but then he ends up saving Cordelia.
He ends up saving Cordelia. So, okay, was Cordelia that like popular of a character where they felt the need to drag her from Buffy into Angel?
Yeah, I think she was like one of the top characters, and it made like they definitely wanted to bring at least one other character from Buffy along with Angel, and they settled on Cordelia because that was the one that I guess to them made the most sense. And I think it did make the most sense. And she does
Okay.
grow, like she grew a lot in the first 3 seasons of Buffy, and she grows a lot more in the next several seasons of Angel.
Okay.
And that does bring me to something that I noticed, and I brought up to you beforehand, but only 2 characters that were in the pilot actually make it all the way through to the season or the series finale at the end of season 5.
Okay.
And I'm sure you can guess one of them because I think that's pretty obvious.
Gosh, was
But
it
out of
Angel?
all, yeah, but out of all the other characters, I'll give you 3 guesses because I mean, there's
Well,
not a whole lot of characters.
there wasn't a lot of characters. It was Angel. Okay, here's all the characters that I caught. Angel, Cordelia, Doyle, and then that was it. Well, I'm guessing that lawyer guy probably is a recurring character.
Yes, and actually that lawyer guy is the one that comes back, and he shows up in the series finale of Angel. His name's Lindsay, and he's basically, Wolfram and Hart. I know they mentioned Wolfram and Hart, but let me ask you, since you have no background, like, what did you think about that? Like, how did they explain like what's your idea of what Wolfram and Hart is?
They're a law firm that helps vampires, apparently. But like the evil kind of vampires, like Russell was, and Angel proves to be not an evil vampire. And so I'm guessing they're gonna go like at odds or something with each other. That's my assumption based on the ending.
That's pretty much spot on. And at the very end, Lindsay mentions that he's going to the senior partners are going to have to know about that. And
Right.
the senior partners are basically the evil incarnates, like, and they're never actually shown on screen throughout the entire series. They're just like, if not Satan, but basically at the same level as Satan.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and basically that is kind of the through line through all of this. And anytime they end up running against powerful demons, they're typically represented by Wolfram and Hart, and they end up making a deal with them. And season 5, Angel actually becomes the CEO of the Los Angeles branch of Wolfram and Hart.
What?
Yeah.
What? Okay. Holy crap, writing back in the early 2000s was just careless.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I think Lindsay disappears around like season 3, maybe. And they have like other characters that are connected to Wolfram and Hart. And then he comes back in season 5, and he's like basically gone rogue, and he's got like long hair, he's got tattoos all over him, he's buff, he like wields a sword.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
and they basically bring him back in order to kill, like, not the senior partners, but basically, the upper echelon of the most evil people connected to Wolverman Hearts. That's called the Circle of the Blackthorn.
So the CW, which this aired on, had a reputation of not having the greatest type of show. Like they were all very campy. People, there were fans. Supernatural was on CW, Buffy was on CW. I think Angel probably was also on, I'm guessing was on also CW.
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time that was still known as WB.
Or sorry.
Yeah.
I just now know it as CW. But yeah, you're right, WB.
Yeah, because Buffy from season 5 to season 6 switched networks from WB to UPN, and then
oh yeah, that's right.
And then however many years later, they CW or WB and UPN merged into CW.
CW, that is correct. Anyway, all the shows that were on that network were known for being campy as all hell. And this is like no exception. This is the most campiest show I've ever seen. This is basically like, and I applaud them for this, that they don't take things seriously, and that's fine. It's just sometimes there's like an extra level of seriousness you should maybe you need to take a little bit. So having Angel, the CEO of this evil company that you're fighting for 4 seasons, be the CEO of it, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah. I don't know. When I was watching this episode, I was just like, this is all campy as hell, but I'm guessing this is more in style of what the show Buffy was like.
I think in general, Buffy was a lot lighter. And one thing that I don't remember if I noticed it as much whenever I was watching it, but thinking back, because one thing that both shows are kind of known for is their humor.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to think of any good moments of humor throughout this episode, and I can't really think of.
There was 2.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I couldn't really think of any good ones.
Okay, there was 2 that I enjoyed, and actually they both involved the car. So the one was when Russell's goons takes Tina through the parking garage, and they're putting her in the car, and Angel's like running through the parking garage, and he does his stylized jump and flips in the air, and then he like lands perfectly in the driver's seat, and then he goes to turn the car on, and he's like, he looks over and he sees that he's in the wrong car, and he goes, oh, dang it. Like that made me laugh, because I think that was like almost a parody of like stylized action scenes where people do that. They jump and they get into the car like that, and they turn the car on and immediately peel off. But here it's like, no, he messed up and he got in the wrong car. And then the second thing that made me laugh was another like a parody of a trope, was when Doyle was driving the car and trying to bash into Russell's gate. He's like putting the pedal to the metal, and he's like, ah, and then it's like ding, and like nothing happens. He doesn't break the gate, and he's like, dang, that's a strong gate.
Yeah, that's a good gate.
So those are the 2 that made me laugh, and they both involved the car, oddly enough.
Yeah, the other one, which I think wasn't really that great, it was more like kind of a standard action movie quip, was whenever Angel comes into the office building to confront Russell with Lindsay there, and he's like, I've got one other question for you. Can you fly?
Yeah.
And then he just, it's so bad though, because he just like kind of gently nudges
the chair
with his foot, and then he goes flying out the window, and it bursts into flames halfway down, and then we see the chair crash onto the ground with just the vampire ash.
So I'm sorry this is turning into my guest is going to be asking me questions about this show, but my question is, so they're vampires, they can't walk in the daylight, because we see, Angel's trying to go after Tina in a scene, and then he gets like burnt, and he turns to a vampire. She freaks out and runs away. But then they're walking around in like the daytime. So like, how the hell are they getting around and going outside and like stuff? Like I was very, very confused by that.
I think they do show that Angel has like a sewer grate in his apartment or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
And the building that he's staying in. And so I
Oh,
think for the most part, he travels through the sewers.
okay. All right.
And since since the office building is like a vampire office building, then they probably have an underground entrance as well, since
Okay.
they would have vampires coming in throughout the day.
Okay.
And they can also, like, as long as they're like well shaded, because one of the popular characters from Buffy, Spike, he tends to drive around in a car during the day, but he has all his windows blacked out.
Oh, okay. See, I was curious about how the hell they're getting around. It's like they make a point to like, okay, yeah, vampires burn up in sunlight, but then A, they're in Los Angeles, which is like sunny 95% of the time. And then B, they're getting around. Like Russell had to get into this building of the law firm, and it's like the middle of the day or whatever. And then like Angel shows up at this office in the middle of the day. So I'm like, well, okay, they burn in the daylight. How the hell are they getting from place to place? Like it was very weird for me, but I don't know if there was some explanation that was on Buffy that I didn't get or know, or
And I don't see Angel doing this, but another thing that Spike has done in the Buffy series is he'll just like, for short distances, he'll just like put a trench coat over his head and run. And like he'll like run through the door and he'll be smoking.
Oh, okay. Okay. So it's just run really quickly from the car to the door.
Basically.
Got it. Okay. Noted.
So then, did you have any other questions? Like, I know one other thing that I had a complaint, and I think a lot of people did, which again, it was surprising because I guess they tried to go for new vampire prosthetics, because again, this was like after 3 seasons of Buffy, and I don't know why they decided to make new vampire prosthetics, because they looked hideous compared to what they had been using on Buffy.
Okay. I knew nothing, so this was the first time I seen them as vampires. So I didn't know that like they turned into something when they were vampires. Like I thought they were, because the usual vampire lore is like they look the same, they're just pale because they can't be in the sun. But other than that, they look human, they look whatever. But it's like the show,
and they
like,
usually look sexy too.
They look sexy. They
extra
have
sexy.
they have the abs and the cheekbones, and yeah. But
And
no,
even
here
if you go with by like Interview with the Vampire, they actually become more beautiful, whatever they.
Yes. But no, here they turn into like actual like monsters. Which surprised me when like that first happened in the beginning of this episode. I was like, oh, so okay, they're vampires, and they're monsters at the same time. Interesting. I had no idea.
In terms of Buffy and Angel vampire lore, basically whenever they become a vampire, the human part of them basically dies, and they're taken over by a demon that retains all of their memories. So they're basically, it's not like they're still the same person, but now they're a vampire. They're actually a demon, but a demon that has all their memories.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. See, no idea on that.
And then Angel, because of that gypsy curse that Doyle sped over in that 2 minutes of exposition, he has basically his human soul back, but he also has the memories of when he was the demon, which whenever he was the demon vampire, he went by Angelus.
Oh, okay. Huh. Can I tell you my favorite moment from this episode?
Sure.
And it was the last shot. So they established this whole thing of like, okay, the whole point of the show is he's gonna be protecting the humans. He's gonna fight for the humans, and he's gonna get a case and stuff like that and help people or whatever. Cordelia, Doyle, they like all team up, and they're gonna be a team now. So while all this is happening, we get this shot of Angel up on a high roof somewhere overlooking the city that he has vowed to protect, with Batman style music playing. I swear to God, I thought he was about to say, "I am the night." Like I was so waiting for him to say it. Like, and then he like looks at the city, and he's all brooding and looks sad, and he's got the eyes all squinty, and then then he turns dramatically, and then it just ends, and I'm like, all right, yeah, yeah, Whedon here is definitely auditioning to be a Batman director or something here, because I found that hilarious. It's just like,
Or like
seriously?
Green Arrow and Arrow, who's on where he's always talking about my city.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, like that. It was just like, I can't believe they actually did this. They actually had a I am the protector of this city moment in the show. That cracked me the hell up. So that was my favorite all time.
And then let me ask you, because again, this is something that you have no background with. Like, did you catch the significance of him like making that phone call at like right before that at the end?
So I watched stuff with closed captioning,
Mhm.
and it said on there that it was Buffy
Yeah.
that he called. Now, if it wasn't for the captioning, I probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. Because to me, it didn't sound. I don't even know that was Sarah Michelle Gellar that was doing that voice. It
I think
probably
it
could have been,
was. Yeah.
but I didn't catch that that's who that was. If it wasn't for the closed captioning, I would have zero idea that's who he called.
And then one other question,
Yeah,
going back to that, the Doyle explanation. Did
yeah.
did you catch the innuendo with what he was talking about with like the moment of perfect happiness?
So was it like Angel and Buffy like had sex or something? And
Yeah.
was that okay? No, yeah, I did think about that. Again, I'm guessing this is all stuff that took place on Buffy, that actually happened
Right.
on Buffy.
Yeah, basically Doyle basically explained Angel's entire run in the first season. Like he basically summarized the first 3 seasons of Buffy, but only from Angel's perspective.
Okay,
And
okay,
then of course he ends like Angel ends that with, yeah, I already knew that I was
yeah.
there.
That's why I laughed so hard at that. Like, thank you for telling me my own life story. Like, thanks.
But yeah, so I mean that's pretty much all I have. It other than that, it is kind of like this standard procedural um with it's a surprisingly sad, like unhappy ending for the first episode, but
Yeah,
then it all comes together as a team at the end with Angel, Doyle, and Cordelia now as
yeah,
their 3-person team.
yeah. No, this was interesting to watch. Especially as someone never seen Buffy, watching just this. I would not recommend that. I would recommend maybe starting with Buffy first, maybe. Because I feel like you do need that history to get into this.
Mhm.
Um, Even though they do explain his whole entire backstory in 2 minutes at the beginning, there's still like other little things that I feel like you need to have been following along this entire time with. Like the whole vampire thing, turning into the demon, and all the other little things here and there. Um, and so it was an okay episode. I think it was as much as they tried to make this to like, hey, anyone can watch this. You didn't have to watch Buffy to get into this. I think they failed at that, honestly, and I think you had to have been a Buffy fan to get into Angel. This was really just made for Buffy fans.
So I think that does kind of answer, basically my last question for you. This I was going to ask, did this interest you enough to watch any more of it, or are you done?
I'm probably gonna first start with Buffy, like, because editing the show for Heather and Mark is making me kind of
Mhm.
want to watch the show, even though I'm hearing everything that happens. I want to see this for myself, like especially the praying mantis lady episode. Like that just sounds wild to me.
Mhm.
Because I got a vision in my head, and I don't know if it matches my vision or not, but I think I kind of want to start with Buffy, and then maybe when I get done with that, and I know there's more Buffy episodes than there are Angel episodes, because you said
Mhm.
Angel only had 5 seasons and Buffy had
7.
7. Yeah. So, because the 8th season was a comic book, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
So I'm probably gonna check out Buffy first, and then maybe I'll go back to Angel, but we'll see.
Yeah, and even though that they aired concurrently, starting with Angel season 1 aired the same time as Buffy season 4, I do recommend that to not try and bounce back and forth between them, because they are so different that it's a real tonal shift, I think, in general. And I've heard this from other Buffy podcasts as well, that it's better to like do a full season of Buffy and then do a full season of Angel.
Oh, okay.
Or like even just do the full Buffy rewatch and then move on to Angel. Like you'll have some like crossover episodes that it may be a little confusing if you space them out too far, and if you'd like forgotten the Buffy Angel that corresponds with it. But I think there's only like 2, maybe 3 of those.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna watch probably Buffy, and then I'll think about starting Angel.
I mean, I will say it's been a while since I've watched Angel. I think it starts out a little rough, but season 1 is decent for like kind of a basic supernatural procedural, and then it gets weird in season 3 and 4, and then it gets off the rails, but in the best way for season 5.
Okay, all right. All right, now you got me curious. Got me curious. All right.
Well, thanks for joining me for the season 4 and all the previous 3 seasons. And for anybody else that hasn't heard you on any of those episodes, why don't you go ahead and let them know where else they can find you online?
Absolutely. So I run a podcast network called Rabbit Hole Podcasts. You can go to rabbitholepodcast.com. That is where you will find all of them. There's easily 15 different shows you can check out, either currently running or that's been kind of stopped. But they're all there. And we do all kinds of different shows hosted by different people. They're not all just me. I host probably the bulk of them, but they're not all me. And there's different genres, different styles, different things we cover. There's going to be a book one coming out soon. We're going to have like the whole gambit covered basically. So yeah, rabbitholepodcast.com. That's going to be the easiest place to find anything that I do there.
All right. And I am Bubbawheat. And you can find this show, It's Time to Rewind, on anchor.fm, as well as anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. We also have a Facebook group, It's Time to Rewind, a time loop group, and you can join that and discuss episodes as they come out, as well as discuss any time loop movies or TV episodes. Anything is welcome there. And next episode, I will be talking about probably one of the most well-known and most loved episodes of Angel, Smile Time, also known as the Puppet episode. And so until next time, grr.
Arg.
Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until it cracks apart. Time doesn't exist until you were pretty at night. Time doesn't exist until you were pretty at night. You're the white-haired one first. You were pretty at night. You're the white-haired one first.